to our guest lecture today's event. Before we get started, I would like to express my appreciation to our speaker today, Miss Preeti Khanna, PhD. Hello, Miss Preeti Khanna. Thank you so much for being here, Miss Preeti
Thank you so
Khanna.
much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here to share with us about your experience. And today's event, we would learn about understanding nutrition and mental health. I hope this event brings many benefits to all of us and add insight into a new knowledge about nutrition and mental disorder. Well, I do not want to take too much of your time. So let open this guest lecture even today with basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And this event is opened. Okay. And the last, it is great to see so many people here. I hope today's event goes well. And thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to Mrs. Hesti Permatasari, SGZM Gizi, for the remarks and for the opening of the guest lecturer today.
The next agenda, the main session of which we are waiting for the explanation from the speaker, Mrs. Preeti Khanna, PhD. The main session will be moderated by Mrs. Alvina Rahma Sulistiani, SGZ MSc. To Mrs. Alvina, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for our lovely Master of Ceremony, Elok and Sahia. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and our beloved student. Welcome to today's guest lecture. Joining us today in this guest lecture, we have a very special person with outstanding achievement and contribution in the nutrition science. Good afternoon, Miss Preeti Khanna.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How would you like me to call you? That's pretty okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. What a pretty name you have.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for coming and willing to share your valuable knowledge and experiences to us. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. All
okay,
good.
thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you are doing well. Okay, before we start our session, please allow me to read Miss Preeti Khanna CV. I will share screen for Miss Preeti CV. Can you see it? Okay. Oh, sorry. Her academic background, her latest education is taking PhD in food and nutrition, specifically related with association of depression and anxiety symptoms on food intake among adolescents studying in public school of Delhi, in University of Delhi, and senior research fellow and junior research fellow in University Grants Commission, and she's taking MSc Food and Nutrition in University of Delhi as well, and also Bachelor Science of Food and Nutrition in University of Delhi. Her work experiences, she had a lot of valuable experiences, currently working as nutrition consultant, worked as co-PI on a project titled Association of Depression and Anxiety with Nutrition Intake Across the Lifespan, a systematic review of epidemiological studies. Worked as an assistant professor with Institute of Home Economics, University of Delhi. Worked as a research associate with Center for Appearance Research, University of West England, Bristol, United Kingdom. Worked as a lecturer guest with Institute of Home Economics, University of Delhi. Worked as assistant professor with Institute of Home Economics, University of Delhi. Working as an academic counselor with Indira Gandhi National Open University. Actually, the list is much more than this, but I just named the latest work experiences. And award and achievement, it's much longer, and we can go on and on about her awards and achievement, and maybe the list is endless. Some of it we can name: awarded Scope School Scholarship to participate in online training, obesity and mental health, awarded DOHAD 2019 LMIC Travel Grant Award, awarded 2-pound grant to attend and present PhD research work at the Asian Congress of Nutrition, awarded International Young Food and Nutrition Leadership Training and Workshop IULIT Scholarship. This is happening in Bali. And this is perhaps when Mr. Teguh and Miss Preeti meet in 2018, awarded International Academic Forum Scholarship to attend and present PhD research work at IAFOR, Asian Conference of Psychology and the Behavioral Science in Japan, selected as a mentor of change for Atal Innovation Mission, selected as a youth delegate by Obama Foundation to meet and interact with President Obama at the first town hall in India. Wow, how is it feels like to ask question to President Obama in person? It must be a very wonderful experience. And her scientific publications, the list is also endless, but to name a few: oxidative and thermal stability of linseed of oil blend and its application of a frying oil. Low intake of protein-rich food and depression and anxiety symptoms. Okay. Sorry for the disruption. Association among adolescent boys and girls in Journal of Nutritional Science and Vitaminology. In 2020, Association of Depression and Anxiety Symptoms with BMI in non-clinical sample of adolescents studying in public school of Delhi. In 2019, Nutritional Aspect of Depression in Adolescent, a systematic review published in International Journal of Preventive Medicine, and so on. I think her publication and research experience are very outstanding. Before we start our session, as you can see, she has a lot of experience, achievement, and contribute a lot, especially for the publication in the nutrition. So before we deliver, we see your lecture, could you please share to us a bit about why, or maybe what's the first reason that makes you interested in this particular topic about nutrition and mental health disorder?
Thank you so much, Afina, for the very wonderful and warm welcome. And I welcome all the dear students and faculty members to this webinar. Addressing your question that why I chose nutrition and mental health as a topic of research is something that has always been very close to my heart, because during my initial years when I was a young postgraduate student, I used to sit in front of my laptop and read articles about what next, what is the big next thing in nutrition, and how can we apply nutritional therapies for diseases and disorders. And while I was doing my literature review and searching a lot of literature, I could see that yes, there are conditions in which nutrition therapies have been applied very appropriately, and these are a group of NCDs, non-communicable diseases, and all of them have the same etiological and the risk factors. Moving forward, I started reading literature for mental health disorders, because during that time the incidences of depression were growing all around the world, and mental illness was a huge liability for the entire world, as the numbers keep increasing, more specifically in South Asian countries. So I could relate that even the etiological factors and the risk factors for depression and anxiety are quite common with the other non-communicable diseases like obesity and diabetes. So I thought, why not find out something which can be in terms of nutrition and how nutrition can be linked to it. And moving forward, I thought, why not to start with young adolescent children, because that is where the first signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety start to appear, and that is where we can just modify their dietary habits, because once the dietary habits which are formed during the adolescent stage, they go on for life. So that is how this research was formulated. And moving forward, I plan to do a postdoc in it very soon. So let's hope that, God grants me the opportunity to do that. And I connect with you on more latest research findings. Yeah. Thank you.
What interesting answer and interesting topic. Yeah, I think depression and anxiety is growing nowadays, and it's actually even if expanding during the pandemic situation, right?
Yeah,
So
pandemic has actually resulted in, an acceleration of the incidents, and now the numbers are increasing exponentially, and we can't even control it because there are so many associated factors linked with it. And moreover, depression and anxiety are now considered as major causes of other non-communicable diseases, which the people might be experiencing. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's very important to address this mental health disorder and its correlation with nutrition. Okay, dear student, please take notes on today's lecture. I believe you will learn a lot from her for the next 30 minutes. And please do not hesitate, or even I encourage you to ask questions after this lecture. Later in the question and answer session, you can write down your question in the chat box and I can read that for you, or you can raise hand during our question and answer session. Okay, ladies and gentlemen and our students, let's just cut it short and start our guest lecture today. Dear Preeti, the time is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just sharing my screen. Please do let me know if the screen is visible to you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still loading here.
Okay.
It's okay. Maybe in a few minutes, in a few seconds.
I think it's there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We can see your screen.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I welcome you to this very interesting and interactive webinar. So let's call it an interactive webinar because I would love to answer all your queries on this very interesting research topic. Moving forward, let us understand the link between, the nutrition and mental health. Why, nutrition is important for our mental well-being. Coming forward, our brain is basically the wizard who is doing all the activities, whether it is related to heartbeat, whether it is related to respiration, sleeping, and digestion. So ultimately, what is happening that even when we are sleeping, our brain is still functioning, and it involves, regulation of actions, regulation of emotions, desires, hunger. All these, activities are controlled by the various centers in the brain, and ultimately the brain needs a source of energy to do and perform these activities. Now the question is that what is the source of energy and where is this energy coming from? So this energy is coming from the food that we are eating. So the food that we eat is basically the fuel for our brain's health and mental well-being. Now it is up to us whether we provide our brain with a good quality diet, good quality sleep, along with exercise to boost the power, or we indulge in eating high sugar content food, high saturated fat content food, which ultimately lowers the capability of our brain and results in poor mental well-being. Moving forward, neurotransmitters have a very important role to play in maintaining our mental health. What are neurotransmitters? To be very simple and specific, neurotransmitters are basically the communication channels through which our brain processes information. The brain senses the information. So basically, if we are feeling happy, the brain will secrete a neurotransmitter as serotonin, which will send a signal in our body that we want to feel happy. Please smile. It is a very automated mechanism, like a robot doing the work. So if there is no serotonin secretion happening, the person will feel depressed. Now, to understand this thing, the precursors of these neurotransmitters are basically our amino acids like tryptophan. Now, where is the amino acid coming from? The amino acid is coming from the proteins that we are including in our diet. And that is why a good quality diet containing good quality of proteins is very important in regulating the neurotransmitters in our brain, because this helps in sending signals across the brain networks and making us realize when we are supposed to feel stress, when we are supposed to feel, scared when we are supposed to feel happy, and how our body should respond in all these situations. This is a way of dealing dealing with the situations which are happening, and understanding the mechanism through which our body reacts. Now, if we just try to understand the dietary content that we consume today, it is very interesting to note that irrespective of our nationalities, irrespective of our cultural and traditional differences, there has been an impact of westernization on the diet that we are consuming all around the world. In today's times, the diet that we are consuming is simply consisting of processed foods, a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, and what is lacking is actual fruits, vegetables, whole grains, multigrains, good quality proteins. All these are lacking, and we are moving towards more processed versions of the products which we are consuming. And this impact is not specific to any community or any particular country, but this westernization impact on the standardized diets can be seen worldwide. And there are Lancet reports and there are good publications which further justify this fact that people who are actually consuming these kinds of diets, westernized diets, are on a higher risk of developing non-communicable diseases like your cancers, heart diseases, diabetes, and obesity. Now, the interesting fact over here is to understand that these traditional diets, when they are westernized, they also become a cause of concern for mental well-being. Why? Because the etiological risk factors and the inflammation mechanism which happens inside the body of an obese person is exactly the same which happens inside the body of a person in the cells who is experiencing poor mental well-being, or also known as depression and anxiety. It is very important to understand that a person's environment has a major and most important role to play when we are talking about diets, when we're talking about mental well-being as a whole, because all these factors interact together to deliver the utmost mental well-being of an individual. And schools, colleges, universities, homes, they have a more important role to play in developing our food habits, in developing our positive mental well-being. Now, if we look at this picture, this is a very interesting picture, which is actually showing the evolution of the early man or the modern man. So if we just see that there was a time when the early man used to be lean and thin. Why? Because that early man used to strive on the nature for its food, on the natural forms of the food. But now, as we are moving towards, the obesity era, the image of this person has changed and the person has become obese. Why? Because again, there has been an impact of westernization on the diet, and we can also see a glass of soft drink in the hand of the man, which further signifies that it is one of the most important causes of obesity which is happening during this phase. Poor quality diet, as the research data has also justified this, are responsible for poor mental well-being. Why? Because they are deficient in micronutrients, which help in brain development. They are high sugar, high GI diets, and they lack omega-3 fatty acids. They reduce the expression of brain-derived neurotropic factor, which results in oxidative damage and inflammation. They lack the good quality of proteins, and when they lack the good quality of proteins, like I gave you an example of serotonin and tryptophan, the required amount of amino acids are not produced. When the amino acids are not secreted, ultimately what happens is that there is a reduced synthesis of neurotransmitters in the body. And when there is a reduced synthesis of neurotransmitters in the human body, it tends to make an individual more depressed, because the person's brain doesn't know how to react in such kinds of situations. So it is very important to include good quality proteins, animal proteins, lean proteins, more specifically chicken and fish, to go in for in balancing the quality of the diet. Omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, MUFAs and PUFAs should be there in the diet, along with good micronutrients. Now, basically, to understand what is the role of nutrition, again, nutrition has a very important role to play, because the food we eat ultimately acts as a fuel for the brain. And if you just look at this table, these two tables basically, just summarize the impact and interaction of various macro and micronutrients inside our brains. For example, if you just, look at carbohydrates basically, they form, the energy source for the brain. The simplest form is glucose. So the brain utilizes the glucose. It further uh, helps in conducting the activities of the brain, like breathing. For example, if we are sleeping, we are still breathing. It doesn't happen that, we stop breathing when we're sleeping. No, it doesn't happen. Our heart keeps functioning. Our body keeps responding to, changes happening in the environment. And for all that, we need the carbohydrates. Again, the proteins are responsible for the secretion of the neurotransmitters, which facilitate the modulation and transmission and secretion of precursors of serotonin, which has a precursor of tryptophan, which is again an amino acids, phenylalanine, which is a precursor for dopamine, which is again a happy feel good hormone, and others as well. As far as fat is concerned, omega-3 fatty acids like EPA and DHA, eicosapentaenoic acid and eicosahexaenoic acids are responsible for forming the brain structure, cell structure, brain lining, tissue lining, nervous system lining inside our brain. So it is very important to include omega-3 fatty acids in our diet to ward off the oxidative damage that can happen during depressive stages. Moving forward, B group vitamins, vitamins B, and other minerals are again responsible in various smaller mechanisms inside the brain, and channels like sodium potassium pumps in transportation of coenzymes to function as coenzymes in cofactor production of ATPase. So all these vitamin and minerals, remember that they are involved in smaller functions inside the brain, but these smaller functions are very important. For example, choline. Choline is a micronutrient again, and it is responsible for methylation. Methylation helps in speeding up the signaling process inside the brain. So again, these vitamins and minerals are responsible for modulating the activities and sending across the messages inside the brain. Moving forward, if you look at this current table, you will be able to analyze that during the deficiencies of B group vitamins, micronutrients like zinc, selenium, magnesium, folic acid, these can result in deficiency symptoms. But these deficiency symptoms of depression, poor memory, stress, anxiety, psychosis, insomnia, irritability, confusion, they can be, ward off by taking good sources of these nutrients like whole grains, multigrains, banana, meat, fish, oysters, nuts, and seeds. Sunflower seeds for that matter, wheat germ, fish oils, green leafy vegetables, fresh fruits, meats and dairy, again, eggs have a very important role to play in secretion of these vitamins and warding off the symptoms of poor concentration, depression, anxiety, insomnia, blank mind, confusion, lack of motivation, and loss of appetite. So, like we all are experiencing this pandemic worldwide. In today's times, again, we are experiencing, mood disorders to be the next pandemic, because the frequency of such disorders have really increased during this pandemic time, and it is very important that we keep our mood uplifted, and we can do that by correcting our diet. So for that, we need to the junk food in order to make our mood better. So it is very important that we combine our diet in such a manner that we are able to regulate our moods and the symptoms that we keep on getting during this pandemic phase on a very accurate basis. Okay. So if you all can see this brain scan, I'll just enlarge the image for you. So this brain scan ultimately shows that, a person who is consuming, drugs like cocaine, which are totally banned in our countries, and a person who is obese, their brain functions in a very similar manner. There are parts of the brain that becomes dull. If you can see, there is only green portions which are being highlighted, not the red ones, if you compare it with the normal brain scan. So what happens is that when a person becomes obese and the person is consuming too much sugar, the brain starts to function in the same manner as a brain of an individual who is addicted to, drugs like cocaine, etc. And there is a dullness in the brain, which can be seen with the help of the brain scans as well. So, and these brain scans are also seen in people who have learning disabilities, in people who are experiencing fatigue, dementia, or Alzheimer's. And similar brain scans are also observed in people who are consuming too much of sugar. So please remember to limit your sugar intake when you are consuming your diets, and always check for hidden sugars which is there in sugar sweetened beverages and your junk food which is currently available in the countries, more specifically South Asian countries like India and Indonesia. WHO further declared trans fats to be toxic, and they are also known as the fake fats. Why? Because they are responsible for, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, and inflammation. Now, when we are talking about mental health, again, this becomes very important. Why? Because these trans fats are responsible for, uh, uh, these trans fats are responsible for causing the same kind of inflammation which happens inside the body of a person when he or she is obese or experiencing cardiovascular diseases. But the same kind of inflammation process also happens in individuals who are experiencing depression, anxiety, mood problems, and who are irritable. So check for saturated fats and trans fats in your diet. Now, when we are talking about brain health, it is very important that we include omega-3 fatty acids in our diet. Without these, the brain doesn't work. The question is that brain requires the fuel to work, and the fuel should include good sources of fat and carbohydrates. The carbohydrates will come from your glucose and multigrains and whole grains. For the fat, there are there are omega-3 fatty acids like EPA, DHA, which you can consume from your fish and your seafood sources. And these are basically also present in your plant-based sources like your flax seeds, walnuts, chia seeds, hemp seed. And they are again responsible for managing the lining of the brain, managing the signal transduction in the brain, managing the brain muscles and the nervous systems. So omega-3 fatty acids are very important. Do not forget that. The important thing over here is to cut down on the quality, cut down on the bad quality of the fats, which is your saturated fats and trans fats, and to include good quality omega-3 fatty acids, because research is again proven that consuming omega-3 fatty acids helps in improving depression, anxiety, autism, bipolar, schizophrenia, multiple sclerosis, and seasonal affective disorders in children, as well as across the lifespan, including your elderlies, including your pregnant women, lactating mothers, as well as adolescents, where the first signs and symptoms of poor mental well-being are generally seen. So again, just to re-emphasize on omega-3 fatty acids, they form basically the cell membrane in our brain cells, which are also known as the phospholipids. And for that, it is very important that we include good quality omega-3 fatty acids, which we can get from our seafoods, from plant sources like flaxseed oil, which is also known as linseed oil, walnuts, almonds, and your seeds like hemp seeds and chia seeds, to move forward. Coming to the micronutrients, like I had discussed previously, intake of micronutrients is very important as per the RDA. And currently, if I talk about India, half of the Indian population is not even consuming the micronutrients as per the RDAs for calcium, magnesium, zinc, vitamin A, and vitamin B. And again, this trend is very common in all the South Asian countries. So I am also considering that this trend might also be common in Indonesia as well, because micronutrients are very important, not only in developing the brain cells, but also in developing immunity and working as antioxidants in our diet. Zinc again becomes very important as as it functions as, as a cofactor in many enzymatic reactions, and low dietary levels of zinc is further related to depressive symptoms. So it is very important to include the sources of zinc like beans, nuts, oatmeals, egg yolks, pumpkin seeds, lean meats in the diet to have good quality of zinc. Magnesium is also known as the relaxation mineral, and magnesium is again very important when we are talking about stress, when we're talking about depression, mental illness. So again, where is magnesium found? Magnesium and all the B group vitamins are basically found in the outermost layer of your grains, multigrains and whole grains, which is also known as the bran, wheat bran, oat bran, rice bran. These are very important sources of your nutrients like your magnesium and other B group vitamins. And even dark green leafy vegetables, kale, spinach, they have a very important role to play when it comes to magnesium, which is being the relaxation mineral. Vitamin C again becomes a very important nutrient because vitamin C helps in functioning as an antioxidant. It fights immunity. It is anti-inflammatory in nature, and it reduces blood pressure during the times of stress, or even in stressful situations. So all your orange and your yellow colored fruits and vegetables are very important sources of your vitamin C. Tomatoes, peas, papayas, dark green leafy vegetables, kiwis, broccolis. Moving forward, vitamin D, which is also known as the sunshine hormone, again very important vitamin when it comes to mental well-being, because vitamin D is regulated by generally in our bodies by sunshine. So physical exposure to sunshine is very important because vitamin D helps in lowering levels of depression inside the body, and responds to stress and also provides immunity. Again, food sources can also be included, which are again your non-vegetarian sources. Moving forward, apart from these vitamins and minerals, it is also important to understand the gut health, which is an important part when it comes to mental well-being. If you just look at this picture, you will be able to see that there is this imaginary line which connects our gut to our lungs, to our throat, to our brain. So this is all in conjunction. So if our gut is not healthy, how can we expect our brain to be healthy, and how can we expect our lungs to be healthy even during COVID times? So this is known as the gut brain lung axis, and this axis can be improved by including fermented and probiotic foods in our diet, which helps in building up the growth of bacteria inside our body, and helps in providing immunity, helps in developing the immune responses and anti-inflammatory responses. And it is very important to include these probiotics in our diet, which can be Yakult, yes, definitely, but even in homes like kimchi salad, kombucha, yogurt, sauerkraut, and pickles, these can be again utilized. Wine, tea, coffee, chocolates, again they can be consumed in limited amounts because they have polyphenols and they help in the production of gut microbiota in our diets. Now the question comes lastly, that what should I do, and what should I do in order to improve my mental well-being when I have so much in the market in terms of processed foods? So the first question that as an individual we all should ask ourselves is, what kind of food we are consuming? Is the food healthy? Is the food as per the dietary guidelines of my country? Am I able to read the nutrition labels? What are the claims that this product is making? We need to understand the nutrition labels, because there are a lot of hidden ingredients which are not good for our mental well-being, like sugar, salt, they are dehydrating in nature. Basically, they suck out the water from our bodies, and they are not to be consumed beyond a certain level. And ultimately, we need to check our mood after consuming certain kinds of foods. Like if I'm consuming a dark chocolate, does my mood improve? Yes, it does improve, but that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to consume the chocolates on a daily basis. I will need to find healthier alternatives. So all these things need to be taken care of. What can be the healthier alternatives? I can substitute the chocolate with the nuts, because they also have the same kind of polyphenols. I can substitute the chocolates with fruits, natural fruits. They will provide me with the natural fruit sugar, which will help in uplifting my mood. So with the all kind of junk foods available in the market, it is very important to understand that these junk foods are high in sugar and salt. They are high in saturated fatty acids. They are high in sodium. They lack micronutrients. They lack omega-3 fatty acids, and they are high glycemic index food, which we need for our mental well-being and for our brain to function properly. So we should avoid such kinds of food. And to conclude, again, good quality proteins, good quality of carbohydrates in the form of whole grains, multigrains, and good quality proteins are very important in making the diet balanced in terms of secretion of your amino acids, which act as precursors for your neurotransmitters, for example, dopamine and serotonin. Tryptophan is the precursor, which is again an amino acid for serotonin. So these are very important because these are happy hormones. They help in uplifting the mood of an individual. They help in relieving the symptoms of depression during stressful situations. And consumption of diets which are rich in antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, high fiber diets, multigrain diets, they go a long way in reducing inflammation inside the body. And if we study the mechanism of inflammation inside the cells of a depressed individual and an obese individual, we will be able to see that the processes of inflammation are same. The cells of the body swell in the same manner. So it is very important to control this inflammatory reaction. And similarly, the same processes also happen during COVID. A person who is experiencing corona, or who is impacted by corona, his or her inflammatory levels are checked by CRP levels, that is C-reactive protein levels. They are checked to check the inflammatory interleukins. How are they reacting? Because what happens is that all this just leads to inflammation inside the body and causes a stress inside the body. So if we are consuming a diet which can help in dealing with these symptoms, it becomes very important to include such kinds of diets during these stressful periods of pandemic. Lastly, I would like to conclude that the most powerful tool today we have in our hands is the fork that we use to feed our stomachs and to feed our brains. So I'll just end over here with a warm thank you to all of you for a very patient listening. And now we can move forward towards questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Preeti, for your presentation and explanation. It's very inspiring and a lot of information that you have presented. And I can say from your lecture that we should be more mindful about what we are eating. We have to learn about the ingredients. We have to read about the food labels. We have to be careful about what we are eating. So because it can affect our mood or our brain, perhaps. So we can start our question and answer session. Is there any students who wants to ask question? Please, you may raise your hands. Or maybe our lecturer from Nutrition Science Department or other department that attended our guest lecture today. Okay, students. You can raise your hand. Okay, so if no one is asking, please allow me to ask the first question. If it's okay for you, Preeti. Okay, so
Yes,
first
please
question.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay, so the first question I read in your presentation in one of your slides that poor diet quality, high sugar, and high GI food can affect brain protein and brain neurotrophic factor and makes individual more depressed. But in my experience, I have met a lot of people or in the lesson young age who, for example, depressed or sad, and they choose sugary cake or sweet as their escape food, and they feel better afterwards, they said. How could that be possible in your opinion? Does it work for short time only, or the better feeling is coming from individual's imagination, or what is it?
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful question. Actually, what happens is that when a person is feeling depressed, I just took the example of chocolate. I would just elaborate it on more. So basically, what happens is that chocolate, if you just see, if it is not a dark chocolate, it is basically providing you with loads and loads of sugars. And generally, when we are depressed, we are not eating the right kind of food that our brain requires to function as for fuel. So that fuel requirement comes from the sugar content of the chocolate. Now the thing is that if we are able to uh, if we are able to substitute this chocolate with healthier options, we can have a long lasting impact, because the sugars of the natural ingredients like fruits, or the sugars from multigrains or whole grains, they will be released slowly and steadily, and they will be more absorbed by the body, because they are more bioavailable to the body in comparison to the processed food intake. So definitely yes, when a person is consuming chocolate which is just made out of loads and loads of sugar, the relief is only for a small time period, because the brain is deprived of the sugar content and it strives on the sugar which is coming from the chocolate. So it is more important to replace it with healthier options to have a long lasting impact. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. So it's better to choose for the long lasting effect rather than the short time effect.
Yes.
Okay,
And
yeah.
many a times, when there are children who have problems like ADHD, hyperactivity disorders, or conduct disorders, and when they're consuming too much of chocolates and too much of sugar sweetened beverages, sugars can, interfere with the programming of the brain, and they can make them more hyperactive, because there is a rush of, sugars which are totally released, and
Sugar
the
rush.
child becomes really hyperactive, and it becomes impossible for the parents to control the child. So it can act in the different direction as well. So it is very important to check the amount of sugar when we are concerned with children who have such kind of issues.
Yes, exactly. Sugar rush is really are hard to handle.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question from Miss Pramesti Hapsari. She's one of our lecturer in Nutrition Science Department in Universitas Jenderal Sudirman. Uh, uh, Miss Pramesti, would you want to ask question yourself? Or let me just read it for you. Hi Preeti, thank you for your presentation, which is very insightful. I want to ask, other than what we eat, how significant meditation and yoga to improve our mental health? Thank you so much for the information.
Okay. Again, a very wonderful question. So, what we need to understand is that, like I had shown you this slide where I was talking about the environment. Again, food, yoga, meditation, following a healthy lifestyle, doing any kind of physical activity is a part of this environment. And all the environmental factors, they go hand in hand in promoting good mental well-being. As much as important is good quality diet, equally important is, practicing meditation or doing any kind of physical activity, because what happens is that even if you're going in nature, even if you're doing a walk, you are actually interacting with yourself, you are actually introspective, and you can find solutions to your problems. So yoga, meditation again help in calming the mind. Food again becomes important because it is the supply of the fuel for these activities to take place. So they both go hand in hand, and one leads to the another. If you have a good physical activity routine, if you are practicing yoga, if you're practicing meditation, automatically you will be more calmer and more wiser in choosing the foods that you want to eat. And it is vice versa. If you are eating a healthy diet, you will definitely not lead to obesity levels, and you will have a good quality of physical activity as well. So they both go hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer. So it's better to, we combine a lot of experience, cultural environment, non-physical environment, non-social environment, and also intake of food so that we can improve our mental well-being. Okay, the next question is from Anissa Rahma. Pramesti said thank you for the answer, Miss Preeti. Okay, the next question is from Anissa Rahma. She is one of our students. Hello, Miss Preeti. My name is Anissa. I want to ask you about the polyphenols. So the polyphenols said could help improve mood. But how much food containing polyphenols should we eat on daily basis? Does the recommended daily intake enough, or should we add more portion if we suffer from depression or anxiety? Thank you.
Okay. Polyphenols again are very important when it comes to an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory diet that we are concerned for mental well-being. Good sources of polyphenols again are your fresh fruits, most importantly kiwi, oranges, grapes, black grapes to be very specific. So they have a lot of polyphenol content, and even your cocoa powder, which is unsweetened, and dark chocolates, wine, but generally we don't prefer alcoholic beverages. So all these grape juice you can take for that matter. So all these products have a good polyphenol content. Now the question is that how much quantity an individual should consume. So basically the RDAs for a specific population should be the guideline to follow for that particular age group and the particular gender, because the intake as per the RDAs is always recommended, and we should always go by the RDAs for that particular polyphenol content, because generally what happens is that we should not overdo anything. Toxicity again is a concern when it comes to nutrients. So always remember, go by the RDA for your country, specific to the gender, specific to the physical activity, for any nutrient and polyphenols and antioxidants. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insightful answer. We already have 3 questions. Okay, from Anissa. Thank you, Miss Preeti, for the answer. Okay, do we have another questions from our students or fellow lecturer? Okay, I think it's enough. No one asking question in the chat box or raising hand. Okay, I think if we already ran out of question, maybe we can sum up the presentation from Ms. Preeti today. So let's say that we have to be more mindful. We have to be more we have to prepare more about what we eat, because the food content that we eat daily can be important for our mental health, and it can affect our mood, it can affect our mental health for short-term or even a long-term effect. And it is better to eat healthier food for the long-term effect, because it also have significant contribution and effect for our health status. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Preeti, for your insightful presentation. Thank you so much once again for sharing your experience and sharing your knowledge with us today. I hope you are success in your career and whatever you are doing, and I hope you always stay healthy during this pandemic. And thank you so much. I think that's all from me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I can give the session again to our Master of Ceremony, Sahia and Alok. Time is yours.
One more question, I think, Afina, from Professor Harry.
Yeah. Is it okay, Miss Preeti? We have another one question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I think after this question, we can wrap up your session. Okay. This is from Professor Harry Winarsi, one of our fellow lecturer. The relation with improving mental health with nutrition in our country, Indonesia, usually leads to its use with local ingredients, tuber, beans, and vegetables. I read an article that velvet beans or Mucuna pruriens rich in L-dopa. You say that dopamine helps control the brain's rewards and pleasure center. What do you think? Do velvet beans also have the potential to improve mental disorder?
Thank you for that wonderful question. Yeah, so I was talking about the impact of westernization on the standard diets that we've been consuming throughout our generations. So it is very important to highlight that, the local traditional diet that we have been consuming from the time of our great grandparents is something that we really need to get back in. And velvet beans again, contain good quality of your phenylalanine, which is again amino acid. So it is a very good source of phenylalanine, and that is why, when we consume beans which have phenylalanine as an amino acid, it helps in secreting dopamine, because phenylalanine is the precursor for dopamine, and dopamine, as you all know, is again a happy hormone, and it helps in regulating the pleasure centers of our brain. I think that a traditional diet, a more unprocessed diet with traditional grains, traditional beans, traditional vegetables which are locally grown, which are unprocessed, that is a kind of a perfect diet for not only maintaining the physical health but also maintaining the mental well-being. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope it answers Prof. Harry question. And I think it's a very wonderful answer. So
Yes, thank you, Miss Preeti.
Thank you so much for that wonderful question. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's enough from our session. Thank you so much once again, Miss Preeti. Now I give back the session to our MC, Sahia and Alok.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Afina Rahma Sulistianing, SGZ MSc, for guiding today's guest lecturer. And the next agenda is photo session. To all participants, please turn on your camera and give the best smile for this photo session. Okay, I will start from the first slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the second slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think it is enough.
Okay, thank you. Dear all participants, this is the end of our session. Thank you to all participants, committees, and speakers who have attended the guest lecture today. As the master of ceremony, we would like to apologize if there is any mistake while we guide this event. I am Ella Kwidianing Tias, and my partner, Sahia Hasna Zaira Sindari, will close this event. Thank you, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much,
Preeti.
Preeti.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really
Thank
nice
you.
being here, Tigu. Thank you for the invite. Hope for future.
Yes. Of
I
course,
hope
we
we can meet
Collaboration.
again.
Thank you so
I hope we
yes,
can meet in
Yeah,
person next
definitely.
time.
I would. Yes, definitely. Looking forward.
looking forward. Wish you and your family always health and happy during this pandemic.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
reciprocate the same. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, you may leave, ladies and gentlemen, and all other participants. Thank you so much for coming to our guest lecture.